You know that strange feeling, that sinking sensation in your gut when everything seems fine on the surface, but deep down, you just know it isn't. That's exactly where my story begins. There wasn't some huge, dramatic movie moment, no late night fights with things being thrown, no screaming matches that the neighbors could hear. It was much quieter, much more subtle. It was the little things. It started with his phone. He used to leave it lying around, face up, without a care in the world. Then, suddenly, it was always face down. Always. On the counter, on the nightstand, on the sofa next to him. If I asked what he was smiling at, the answer was always the same. Oh, just a dumb meme from work. But the smile never quite reached his eyes. I remember his hugs. They used to be these all-encompassing, warm embraces that made you feel safe, like you were the only person in the world. Slowly, they turned into polite, almost formal pats on the back. A quick, one-armed squeeze. It was the kind of hug you give an acquaintance, not the person you share your life with. And I did what so many of us do. I told myself I was imagining things. I called myself paranoid, insecure, crazy, because the alternative was just too painful to consider. Who wants to admit that the person they love, the person they trust, might be lying to their face? It's easier to doubt your own sanity than to doubt their loyalty. But the body knows, doesn't it? Your body keeps the score. Mine certainly didn't. It knew something was wrong long before my mind was willing to accept it. I felt it in the tightness that seized my chest every single time his phone buzzed. I felt it in the way my stomach would drop when his goodnight text, which used to be like clockwork, started arriving 10, then 15, then 20 minutes later each night. He probably thought I wouldn't notice such a tiny shift, but I noticed. I saw everything. One night, he told me he was going out with the guys. The usual. I didn't question him. I didn't ask who, or where, or when he'd be back. I had stopped doing that. Instead, I just watched him. I watched the way his eyes darted around the room, avoiding me as he said goodbye. I watched how he gave me that quick, passionless peck on the cheek instead of a real kiss, the kind of kiss that says, "I'll miss you." The kind that says, "I can't wait to come home to you." When the door clicked shut behind him, the silence in the apartment was deafening. I just sat there on the sofa for what felt like hours, staring at my own reflection in the dark TV screen. And a question popped into my head, crystal clear. When did I become so afraid of losing someone who had already lost me? It wasn't a single big betrayal that broke me. It was the death by 1,000 cuts, the constant barrage of little lies, each one wrapped in a plausible half-truth. "Oh, my battery died? Sorry, I didn't see your message. It got late. I just crashed at Tom's." Every excuse was a small chip at the foundation of what we had built. So, I changed my strategy. I stopped trying to catch him. I stopped playing detective, searching for clues, trying to piece together a puzzle I already knew the answer to. I just started observing. I became a silent observer in my own life. And the more I watched, the more distance I created, the clearer everything became. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't paranoid. I was right all along. Then came the moment of undeniable proof. It wasn't something I went looking for. It just fell into my lap. He was in the shower, and his tablet, which was synced to his phone, was on the coffee table. A notification lit up the screen. I saw it from across the room. Her name, followed by a simple, damning heart emoji. And the strangest thing happened. I didn't feel a rush of anger or a wave of tears. I didn't feel the need to grab the tablet, unlock it, and read the message. I didn't need to. Seeing that notification wasn't about catching him anymore. In that moment, it was about catching myself from falling any further into the pit of denial I had been living in. It was the final anchor I needed to pull myself back to shore. That night, everything was different. I looked at him with new eyes. He was on the couch, laughing at some dumb comedy special on TV, completely oblivious. And I watched him, I really watched him. And I realized the man I fell in love with wasn't sitting there anymore. That man was gone. In his place was a stranger, a really good actor who was pretending to be my partner. And for the first time in months, instead of feeling the familiar sting of tears, I felt the corners of my mouth lift into a small, secret smile, because I knew with absolute certainty that I was done. He thought I'd never notice. He thought his little secrets were safe, that his careful act was convincing. But I saw every lie, every shift in his tone, every hesitation in his touch. And you know what the best part was? I realized I didn't need a dramatic confrontation. I didn't need to scream, or cry, or beg, or expose him to our friends and family. My power wasn't in calling him out. My power was in my silence. I started building that silence into strength. I started emotionally detaching, piece by piece. I focused on my work, reconnected with my friends, started reading again, started finding joy in things that were just for me. I was quietly building my escape plan, not from the apartment, but from the relationship itself. And then, one ordinary morning, I woke up. The sun was streaming through the window, he was still asleep next to me, and I felt nothing. The usual anxiety wasn't there. The dread wasn't there. I didn't feel the need to check his phone while he slept. I didn't feel the ache of wanting him to hold me. I didn't miss him. And he was right there. That's when I knew. I had already left the relationship long before I packed any bags. I was gone, and he hadn't even realized it yet. So, if you're listening to this, and that little voice in your head is whispering that something feels off, please listen to it. Trust yourself. We are so often taught to demand concrete proof, to catch them red-handed before we have the right to be upset. But you don't need a smoking gun to know your heart is breaking. You don't need proof to leave. You just need peace. Sometimes, the bravest, most powerful thing you can do is simply stop pretending. Stop pretending you don't see what's right there in front of you. Acknowledge your reality, and then, quietly, begin to build your own. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If this resonated with you, I'd be so grateful if you'd like this video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Take care of yourselves.